Hi, welcome to Gluten Free and Me. Today we're gonna do gluten-free flour tortillas. The recipe calls for 2 cups of all-purpose flour. Of course, you can get the all-purpose flour at the grocery store. We know this by now. 2020, there's lots of options for gluten-free. Let's make our own today. The recipe is, remember I've said this before in my intro recipes, you can always make your own all-purpose flour doing 2 parts of your flour and 1 part of your starch. So for 2 cups, let's get that math working. For 2 cups of all-purpose flour, we're gonna use 1 1/3 cup of our flour and 2/3 cup of our starch. So in here, I have 2/3 cup of our tapioca. However, I never make it easy, and that's okay. Just try to follow me on this one. The 1 1/3 cups, I didn't want to just do all white rice, so I did the 1/3 cup in brown rice and the 1 cup in white rice. Either way, you can't go wrong. 1 1/3 cup of rice flour. I want you to feel comfortable in your kitchen because it's your kitchen, it's my kitchen, it's your kitchen. We can do this. So since we have 2 cups of flour, I have in here 1½ teaspoons of xanthan gum. There's fantastic things online that you can always search. I'm making cupcakes. How much xanthan gum should I use if I'm making my own all-purpose flour? There's so many things you can Google, as I tell the kids. Use the Google. We need 1 teaspoon of baking powder and 1 teaspoon of salt. I use the Himalayan salt. For 2 teaspoons of brown sugar and 1 cup of warm water. Mix it on up. You can already see it start to bubble up. That's basically the baking powder, making it a little airy. So make sure you scrape your sides. You can see how nice and airy this recipe is. Recipe yields about 8 nice size tortillas. So next step, with your clean hands, but your jewelry removed, because we're gonna get down in this recipe a little bit. I love this recipe calls for a little bit of buckwheat. It gives the tortillas that little brown hue, because behind we're gonna put a little oil in the skillet and cook it and warm it through, and then I have a little station over there to take a little reserve oil off and put them aside. Now, also, if you have your cast iron, by all means use that. I loved the short period of time I had a gas stove. I just love a gas stove and some cast iron. Just gives a great taste to everything. So if you have that, use that. That feels better. You know when you can roll it in your hands and you can feel the size of it? Oh, Nala's back, guys. She had to throw herself on the floor. No one was listening to her ring the bell to go play. To be a baby puppy. Perfect. I'll put them aside, but here's a little tip. Let's put them back into the bowl that I had, and let's just work one at a time, and let's cover it in a little saran wrap to keep them moist. If you've ever done dumplings or anything like that, it always calls for your dough to be covered so it stays moist. So I like to take the round ball and make it flat just to make sure that I have a nice circle that I'm working with before I start rolling. So I'll roll. Now I know somebody out there is probably asking, oh, but I don't like buckwheat. What do you do if you don't want to use buckwheat as flour you roll out? And by all means, use rice flour, white rice flour if you want to. No one has ever said they tasted buckwheat in this, so I feel safe to say, try the buckwheat. So this is what I've come out with. I've used my silicone mat with a little bit of the buckwheat, tiny bit of the white rice. Have you ever done a recipe when it sticks? Well, I remember this now. I'm having like a flashback of when I used more brown rice in this recipe than white rice, but it's just such a soft dough. So it's sticking and it's not making Jen happy, but you are in my kitchen right now. This is like real life stuff. So I got out a little bit of white rice and I decided to make my life easier and do it on the silicone. So no matter what, I'm gonna be able to have it like this. A little bit of my white, tiny bit of my buckwheat. Press down to make the circle. Oh yeah, I can feel it. It's just such a lovely, nice and warm dough, but it doesn't like me today, and well, it's not gonna get the better of me. Hi guys, in true Jen form, I was editing my video and realized that I never actually showed you what I put into the original white recipe. I was just showing you what I put into the one that I tweaked with brown rice flour. So to be fair, let me show you what I have listed below as the gluten-free flour tortilla. 2/3 cup of tapioca flour. 1 1/3 cup of your white rice flour. 1 1/2 teaspoons of xanthan gum. You can do 2 teaspoons if you want and if you like more xanthan, but in this recipe I did 1 1/2 teaspoons. 2 teaspoons of brown sugar. 1 teaspoon of baking powder. 1 teaspoon of salt. 1 cup of warm water. Mix it up, do everything exactly the same. And like you're about to see, the white rice flour one is easier to handle. It's not as that soft and moist that you get with adding the brown rice flour, but I like to add and I like to change it up, have more nutrients in my things that I make. So I made both. I just forgot to tell you about it. Keep watching. So on the silicone mat, I'm just making this tortilla and it looks wonderful. It's easy to manipulate and touch. It comes off the mat really easy. If you don't have that, then just make sure your surface is definitely floured nice. Now here at my family, nobody judges the shape or color of something because they know how hard it is sometimes to work with gluten-free dough. And Mom is not a master baker by any means. I like to try things for them though. Let's just show you the shape of this. It's not a circle, and we're gonna use it anyway. And if you're like me and you just wanna try things and your family is flexible, I think they'll eat. As long as it tastes good, they'll eat something that's more of a square than a circle. Or somebody who is particular about things and you want your presentation to wow your kids or your significant other, use your bowl. By all means, do not waste the flour that is left behind, and you have your circle, okay? If you really must have the circle, do not fret. We have our flour with the white rice flour tortillas, and we have the ones that have some brown rice. I'm always gonna try something alternative because that's the way I roll. I like my food to have a little bit of nutrients in them, so I'm always gonna play around. And I wanna be as authentic in my kitchen for you as I really am in real life. So this brown rice mixture, it was tough, guys, I ain't gonna lie. I had to knead it with the white rice flour to get it to roll out, but I'm gonna be ecstatic about it. So if you want the safer way to do things, stick with the recipe with the white rice flour and then move on to the cooking. That's next. I love a recipe that we can cook and let aside until dinner time, because that's what I'm gonna do with this. Dinner's not for a few more hours, and I'm just gonna do these tortillas and put them aside in my platter. I like to put a little paper towel down for excess oil. And as I mentioned before, your skillet, if you had a cast iron, use that. But today we're gonna use this with a little bit of olive oil in it. And I'm gonna start with our white rice flour tortilla. I hear it sizzling a little bit, so I'm gonna flip it over and look at that. Can you see how it's starting to have some texture? Love it. Flip it over, cook away. So it's been about 3 minutes total on this tortilla, and as you can see, we have a whole bunch of bubbles popping up. I love when it looks like the gluten eaters. And I put a little bit more olive oil. I have a couple of paper towels here in case I wanna give a little smear. So we have even distribution and another white rice flour tortilla down. And just keep this up just like we're doing, and you're gonna want them to be like a little brown on this. Another good one. Oh, and it pops up just when I flip it over. Nothing says lovin' like a warm skillet. Let's see how these little guys turned out. Oh, they're starting to get really nice and golden. Take a look at that. And we'll flip that over, still sizzling. Yep, and the other one is just as golden. I'm gonna taste it. You know, it's been nearly 2 decades since I've had a real flour tortilla, and if my memory serves, this is so darn close. It's delicious, you guys.
Where are you hiding? You're getting used to this cooking stuff now, right? Such a good girl.
You can see which one I needed in the buckwheat more than the white rice flour. That one's for me. Woohoo! Gluten-free flour tortillas for my family's taco night tonight. I hope you enjoy this recipe. Don't forget to go visit DoLifeInspired.com for your very own apron. It's my kitchen, and any of our other merchandise, or visit my Instagram, Jen Fiore, DoLifeInspired. I hope you have a blessed day and enjoy your gluten-free tortillas.